In this video we're going to take a look at and do some roping and hand sewn grommets. The tools required for these two practices are a few. First of all, you need a needle appropriate for the job, thread which can be waxed or unwaxed. This is synthetic thread. You need a sailmaker's hook for holding the job secure while you're working on it. This is a lightweight one which is very good, made out of a fish hook. This one here is a more heavy duty one, cast or forged out of mild steel. You then need your palm, of course, a knife or scissors, a piercing awl for grommets. This is a triangular ground awl which, as you'll see later, can be used to pierce the starting hole for a hand sewn grommet. To assist you go through multi-layers of tabbing when doing eyelets, say on around a sail. You need a pricker. This one's made from a broken needle which has been driven into a wooden handle. This one is slightly larger, and also a fid similar to this which can be used to smooth out grommets when you make them. You can put it over it and smooth it out and compact it before you sew. That's just a few tools you'll need for the next few exercises. Roping is a term used to describe placing a rope reinforcing around the canvas work. In this case it's the bottom of a bag, and the same, this is the top and also the bottom. Roping goes around the sail and becomes the bolt rope. The idea being that load can be transferred from the canvas to the rope and evenly distributed around the material. So we'll be having a look at that now. We're now going to have a look at the steps involved in roping. In this case we're going to put a rope around the base of this bag to protect it from wear, and we're going to use, in this case, this silver rope. The first step, of course, is to either measure the diameter or, with an existing project, place the rope we're going to use around the bag to get its diameter, and then if you mark it right round all the strands. Then you can, because you're going to unlay this, you need 3 turns around. 1, 2, 3. Now we've just slightly misjudged that, so we'll do it again. In the middle, which will loop around. diameter of the bag. Oops. And because we've already marked it once, we'll put 2 marks. Now trace these marks right around all the strands. It's most important. Then you can go twice, 3 times. Line them all up so that they're all the same diameter. Show original 2. And third one, 3. Okay. As I said before, because we've already put 1 mark on, we better just put 2 on it. Now you have to you have to unlay 1 strand all the way along. The beauty of making this grommet this way, of course, is that you'll end up with 3 pieces, so you can make a couple more bags to use up the rest. Now that you have separated one of the strands off, you can then find your centre mark and line it up. And now it's a case of relaying the rope carefully until you have a circle. So if you line those up, then you can go around. So you can right round till it comes back to the starting point. Now once you've completed that circuit, just check with the bag that it's there, you've preserved the correct diameter. Now it's to take the other strand and carefully lay that back into there. You can just give it a slight twist to keep tension in it, but not too much, otherwise it'll pull the grommet out of shape. Now you as you did with your long splice, you tie an overhand knot here. You can use half the strands and then just thin them down and splice them into the rope. With the two ends, you cut them roughly in half, and then with half of those ends you tie your thumb knot and then tie that tightly down into the lay there. And then with your Swedish fid, you can then tuck these through here on each side. Now with the crossover 50% of these snug down, you can then take the end here and over one. Yeah. We'll do one more. And do the same with the other side. Right. A good pull and roll. You can probably at this stage cut off those two neatly. Give it a roll in your hands to settle it all down. If you can, bring those around to the inside of your bag, or the inside of your grommet, sorry, and cut that off. Three. And that should give you the grommet to sew onto the bottom of your bag. Yeah. With your grommet complete and in position, tack it at 4 points around the rim. This is more or less the same procedure as you do if you're doing a sail, where you mark off in this case the grommet, in intervals, so that as you sew you can keep track that it has not shifted. Now with your thread, this is a double thread, and if you make it 1 arm span in length, it facilitates your sewing in that you don't have to keep, once you get it a bit shorter, you won't have to keep putting down your needle. Now to start, you select a spot, you put a figure of 8 knot in the end of your line, or your thread rather, and select your spot and push it through. Your canvas, and then bring it up the groove and a point in the groove, push it right through and at right angles to your job, and then push it through. Pull it up taut, then advance along the groove, select a spot and go through at right angles, through right angles, oh, very springy. So what you're effectively doing is sewing these strands in turn to the rim of your job, again along through at right angles. Again through, just you see how it's sewing there, along there, through. Through. Just check to see that this is coming out reasonably okay. Yep, it's not too bad. Now, if it's not coming out even, you can take up more material by doing the next one and bending it this way, or if it's going a bit short, come back that way. So It's not working out too badly. There you go. This waxed thread tends to grab a little, so here we can probably come back a bit, so we'll go slightly at an angle forward. And it's coming up pretty close to where your tacking was. Just one more. Just get rid of that tacking. Yeah. Your sewings there, which will, when you finish, the rope will sit under the seam. So now we continue on sewing right round the bag until you finish. Now that you've sewn right round, just beyond where you've started, the final one is just to duplicate this one here and go back through there. Hold it up taut and finish it off by just sewing back through your rope. there, and cut it off close, and you're finished putting your roping around the base of this bag. One of the side benefits of actually using a length of rope and then taking one strand off, if this happened to be too small or too large, you can always make adjustments because you've got two other pieces from your initial piece of rope to make another one and make the necessary adjustments. So that's roping. Of course, the fact that you're doing it to an enclosed circle makes it a bit more, I think, a bit more challenging. We'll now go on and have a look at roping, as you would say, on an open object such as a sail. Now we're going to have a look at roping onto a hypothetical sail edge. So you've got your tabbing sewn, and if we in this case we've just got a double layer of cloth. You take your bolt rope, or the rope you're going to use, you tension this up between two solid points, again to get the stretch out of it. And it must be remembered that on a sail in particular, that the bolt rope is what carries the load, not the sailcloth. So if the bolt rope stretches, and it wasn't pre-stretched, it would then involve, under load, putting weight on the cloth. So we pre-stretch it or tension it before we start to sew. We then can mark a line along the rope like this. The purpose for that is to keep track of that it's running true. In other words, as you're sewing it, you're not gradually winding it up, which can happen. So when you're sewing, you always have the marked edge on the edge of your cloth or sail. We also put along the length of it, in say 300mm intervals, a marker, a strike mark on the cloth and a strike mark on the bolt rope. Again, this, you can see then, as you're sewing, doesn't tend to want to make it drift either way, because you can take corrective action if that starts to happen, and you're better off to see it earlier than late, where you may have to be faced with the decision to unpick the whole job and do it again. So with the preliminary work done, you can then put a temporary tie on the sail, here, and of course these could also be placed at regular intervals along the length of the line that you're going to be working with. You then take your trusty sail hook and hook it in here and secure it to your strong points. And because this enables you to have something to pull back on as you work. And then effectively you're all set to go. So start this off back here. As mentioned, use the same rules or guide as in doing putting the roping on the bottom of a bag. Just one length of double cotton, double thread, and put a figure of 8 in the end. Hold the start. And again, the length would be the 1 arm reach. So we pull this back here, line that up. Oh dear, got it caught. So if we go to the cloth first, there we go. Mark there, put it through and out the other side of that strand, and then at right angles through your cloth. Pull it tight. Go over the next one, through, out, and oops, made a blue there, so we're going to have to back that out. It's always right. Can be a bit of a challenge doing this because this is twisted thread, and so when you pull it through it tends to wind up. So that's through there, so this one should have gone through here. And at right angles to your cloth. Pull it up taut. On to the next one. so you proceed along, just keeping an eye on your marks. Now this one here is a little bit short, so you'll probably go back, bend the cloth back this way. Oops. This way here, and it'll pull that back to shorten it. If you're over this side, you could go the other way, and it would gradually move it to line. So it pays to keep an eye on your marks as you go. We'll just do one more. Put it, then find with this rope, this synthetic rope, just to push it down sideways so without piercing it. Push it through. Push it down. Whoops. Now that we've sewn along here, you probably noticed initially that the marks didn't line up here. The mark on the rope was a bit further back. So by putting when you put the advancing the needle in and going slightly forward rather than at right angles, it gives you more sailcloth to pull back into the groove, Now to finish off, you do a back stitch. So you go back to here, and not through the same hole, but slightly forward of that. And back stitching is done wherever there's a grommet here, or at the end of your work or end of your run, through there, and then that go under there, and to finish off this is, otherwise you just keep going to finish off. So this is the end of the run. You can just go under that stitch and through there and out. Out through there. This is the back side of your job, and front side. If after finishing off you decide you need to start a new thread, simply take your thread, put your knot in the end of it, go back to here, and pull that into the rope, and then continue on as before. In here, through, and push it through, down, through here, and through the top. Out through there, and there's the sail. And so you keep going. Another way of ending would be to do one more. Put it through, and then do your back stitch, and come out not through the same hole, just nearby, and pull it all up taut, and then you can cut this off. Cut this off here, and do a relief knot up close to your hole. And then cut it off. Now for grommets. Grommets come in all sorts of sizes depending on the job. If you were going to just want to put a rope handle on the bag, you just do a small one. If you want to put a rope around the bottom of the bag to protect it, that's a considerably larger one. Or in this case here, a very small one or a medium-sized one. To construct the grommets, you need a foundation, which could be either a plastic ring or a metal ring, and what we'll be doing is making our own, like so, and also considering this style of one here. When you made your strops in an earlier exercise, it's the same process of taking a piece of rope, undoing it, and then laying it up into a circle, and then trim the edges, and then that one could then become a rope grommet. These are then placed over the hole in your material and sewn around to form the shape there, like that. First step for putting in a sewn grommet is to first of all make your foundation ring, which can be made up by using, in this case, a piece of Robolon. Lay it up much the same as you do in the construction of a grommet. This is just a small version. And then is to determine that's the size of the final eyelet. Then so trace round the circle and then divide it into even spaces. The object of this is to, one, maintain track of your eyelet as you sew it in. There can be a tendency for the eyelet to wander. The next step is to punch a hole through here. This is an awl with 3 cutting blades ground around the side, so you can push it in here like so to pierce a hole. Then use your scissors to open it out, because part of the strength of the eyelet is that this centre material, instead of being punched out as you would for a metal grommet, is to actually wrap that around your foundation ring, thus increasing the strength or the holding power of the grommet. So if you cut it, say we cut it into 4. So this will give you some idea. See how the material folds up. Well, that will end up being, they'll be sewn around your grommet as you go. The next thing is to decide what you're going to make the grommet of. You could make it of thread or cord. In this case we'll use this cord. You take a length, as said before, say 1 arm span of cord, middle it, and then you're all set to go. Now we're all set to go, so you take your needle, pass it through on one of those marks, through, bring it up through the centre. If you just place your grommet on top of that, just leave a little bit of tail out, and then we'll just do the first turn here, through there, and side, hold your 2 ends, and pull that up tight, and go in through the next hole or point, Put it down tight. Through the centre. Down hard. Hold it. Up to the centre. To the next one. Pull it down hard. As you keep going around, try and space the things, the turns evenly as you go around. Now you've completed one trip round your grommet, and you can use your head to press it down. Now, as we've only used fairly thin cord, what we'll do, we'll go round it once more. This time we'll put a stitch in between each of these marks. So for example here, in there, pull it down hard, through the centre. Oops, you do the centre, and over, halfway between the next two marks. And when you go through, if you go into your mark there, and you can twist that around and push your needle back up through the grommet. If you're working on a large sail where you may or may not have access to both sides of it, like we do here, you'd have to do this. So we keep going around until we've completed the circuit. To finish off, use your fid to smooth out the grommet, even it up a bit, then take your needle and pass it in through here and probably through the edge of your grommet. Oops. Haul it taut and then snip it off. And again, one more. And there you have your grommet sewn in. Now, to finish this section on grommets and rope sewing, we have here some examples. These are the two, the one grommet we sure demonstrated, and this one here is a similar grommet, except this time we've put a second row of, the second row has actually been spaced out, thus I guess shifting the load out further into the sailcloth. If you were going to do this method, when you did your little circle of markings, you do another circle on the outside so they're concentric, and duplicate the marks and put this second trip around spaced out. This one here, these here are more decorative type grommets, which are created by half hitching as the needle goes through the opposite direction to this one, and you half hitch it, which gives it a decorative finish. And this is another grommet similar to that one on this heaving line weight, and shows the same similar result. So now all that remains is for you to duck off and either make a ditty bag and practice putting grommets in and see how you go. Thank you for watching.